Hello everyone, this is DJ from GarageFarm.net and welcome to this short video about Blender 2.80 Beta. Yes, the thing that's been with us for a week already, and I wanted to share my first impressions of the software with you and show you some little things that might get omitted in all the hype going around Eevee and stuff. But before we jump into this, I have two cool news for you. One is the new Blender interior visualization contest that we just announced. Let me show you the web page. So you can go to GarageFarm.net, the individualistic interior competition 2018, and you'll find all the necessary info, how to join, how to register. You'll get some free credits for rendering your final work using our farms, so pretty cool stuff, and also information about the prizes that you can win. So I think it's pretty much worth it. Just don't worry, my face is not included in the beta, so it's just a part of the recording. So I'll be like going to the right lower corner of the video. And the second news is we are announcing a live stream with Mateusz Wielgus. He's a freelance architect, CG artist, a guy that's making some cool, awesome renders with the Blender cycles. You can see some of his works on ArtStation. We'll be like talking, chatting about Blender, generally using this professionally, and making ArcViz with it, and all the other stuff that Mateusz is proficient with. So you can check out his portfolio. It's pretty awesome, and I hope you'll join the live stream. Remember the date, 17th of December. We'll be announcing details about the live stream on our different channels, so follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, wherever it's suitable for you. So now, the Blender 2.80 Beta. So you might have already downloaded the beta. It's on the official blenderorg.org. You can just click the link, and fun is back in 3D, and that's really what it is. Yeah, it's not just fun, it's just pure awesomeness, a lot of cool features. You know, Eevee, the real-time rendering engine, and all the viewport changes, the left-click select, the long-awaited feature for all people migrating from different software to Blender. So you can see all the, Blender Guru just released a series of videos regarding the 2.80. Everyone is like having their own personal view on the beta, and I wanted to share my favorite five like Roman 5 parts that might get omitted in all the hype, and just to show you a quick view on these. Okay, so let me show you the cool feature that I really like. It's pretty useful for interior ArcViz, generally ArcViz. So this is the IES lamps. We have a spot lamp here, so this is what we're going to use, and to showcase the thing, it will add a plane, rotate it 90 degrees and scale it so that we have a big wall and like a display. And let's go to shading, and this is a cool thing also to notice that you have different workspaces already set up for different tasks in the Blender interface. I think it's pretty cool. Well, you have to get used to it. It's kind of like you can configure this the way you want and suitable for your workflow, but it's kind of like quite convenient if you want to like switch from like different parts of the workflow. Quite cool. So when we go to shading, we have already this panel here. Let's check that the lamp is not rotated anyhow, but right now it is. That's quite important. Here we have also a cool little panel, workspace panel, so you can use the gizmos for different tasks, like general gizmo rotation and stuff. We don't want that right now. Let's switch from Eevee, because this is the default engine, but this feature in fact is a cycles feature. So let's switch to cycles and GPU, and let's set up use nodes for the light. And right now we have the emission here. Let's not crank this up that much, and let's go to rendered preview. Right now we have just a simple spotlight, something like this, and right now we can input a texture node, IES texture, and let's go for external, and let's find some IES files. This is generally provided by like lighting manufacturers, so you can find the many of these kind of files. These are really like the profiles of how the light is scattered. Let's pick up one of these and let's plug into the strength, and there you have it. We have a nice kind of like downlight, maybe for decorating a wall or something. Let's crank up the strength a bit. You can control this here. Maybe we can also use the black body to have a proper value of temperature. And let's check out what you can do with it. Yeah, so different types of lamps. Yeah, you can see the difference clearly. Like really some cool looking ones, cone shaped. You can also see how it's very close. It's like kind of like cone shaped. That's how it behaves on the wall. So generally this is pretty cool when you put it inside an interior. For example, like this. Okay, so the second feature that I wanted to show you is the texture paint workflow, and in Blender 2.80 there's a tab for this. So I have a 3D scan here, so I just used the low poly version of this for painting just to show you the workflow. So let's go to texture paint. This is what I came up with. The previous version of Blender, like the texture paint, was quite like a little bit of a black magic. So right now everything seems like streamlined and pretty easy to understand. So you have this panel here for setting up the modes. So you can paint with a single image, so just or with material workflow, and this is really cool. So you can add the general maps like base color, specular, roughness, metallic, bump, and stuff. So maybe let's add a bump texture right now. Let's maybe make it 0.4 so that it's 4K. Click copy this. We have an empty texture slot, and it creates an image for us. That's called already material 2.8. This is the name of the material bump, and everything's like you have the windows prepared, so you just have to set up the texture you want to paint, and it's set up for painting. So Yeah, and another feature that I wanted to show you is like some cloth sim improvements. Well, this is really like subtle changes, but really like the whole simulation gives like pretty cool and satisfying results. This is something that I came up with just a small, simple trial or simulation of a scarf or something like this. I just pinned this with some vertices here, and it's hang down. I've shaped it the way that it was like convoluted, so to form a knot just by gravity, and it just like swing like a pendulum or something like this, and just make some stuff. So maybe let's just create a fresh scene, and let's try and make something like this right now. So set up the collision. Maybe let's crank up the quality to something like 4, so it will be a little bit slower, but that's what we are looking for. And let's run the simulation. Generally, I think it's going quite fast, faster than the previous version of Blender, and you can see how the knot is tightening up. It's much better. Usually with Blender, with previous versions of Blender, these kind of things made like really corrupted the mesh, and there were some intersections and stuff. So this is generally looking better. So let's quickly run another simulation like okay, so I'll run the simulation. Let's have a look. Okay, so I baked another simulation with a much denser mesh right now, and so let's quickly play it. Should be a little bit longer to like make it more stable, but I think it's cool enough. Make some wrinkles here and there so that it's an uneven surface, and let's quickly add a subdivision surface to this one, and you can see it looks like quite a nice fabric. Maybe not perfect, but I think the results are better than I used to get from the cloth sim. So if you ever played with fire in Blender, tried setting up the shading for this, you know it was pretty much of a hassle with nodes to set up a good material for shading fire, and right now we have a principal node for this, a single node for setting up the shading. I set up a quick flame simulation here to show you just a quick view on this. I won't be going into detail with this. Maybe in the near future I'll make a separate tutorial on this subject, because it's quite interesting and useful. You can see we can set up temperature, for example, or any other factor for our fire in just this single principled node. So pretty cool, pretty awesome. definitely we'll be playing with it more. You can see it right now in cycles, in rendered preview, and we can switch to look depth as well, so you can see that it works for Eevee as well, but you won't get these live ray traced reflections in the mirror here. So let's see, Vampire Fire, no reflection. Another feature that I wanted to show you is the crypto mats. Pretty cool feature for compositing your final image. So I've got a pretty basic scene, so let's quickly make something out of it, like just duplicate the objects, sometimes maybe add a monkey. Okay, so we got the scene prepared, and let's quickly go to passes. We need to switch from Eevee to cycles and passes, and let's enable here in the down below. Well, perhaps I need to move a little bit to the side because this is where it's at. It's in the Cryptomats tab here below the passes, so we can enable object, material, and asset, and this really creates a kind of layer with masks for all the objects, or different objects having the same material, or an asset. So a linked like group or something like this is an asset, yeah. So you can easily make like it automatically creates for you some masks, and that you can use later on in compositing. And let's quickly render this out. Cool, so we got it rendered, and let's close this render and go here in the tabs to compositing. We can close this area here as we won't need it, and let's enable use nodes for compositing. And we have our render here. Let's hide the panels, don't need these, so we have more space. And here you have the layers like crypto, object 1, 2, and 4. But if we press Ctrl Shift and this, it backdrops the image. So perhaps let's fit this into our window, and we have our render in the viewer node. What we need to check if we plug this in, it's just like crazy shapes, so it's kind of vector, something like vector shapes. So in able to use the crypto mats, we need to add another node, and this is a mats node, crypto mat. Let's quickly plug in these here into these 3 inputs like this, so all of the same type object. And now if we plug the image, there's nothing happens, matte, just a black screen. But if we select the pick, we have our render with different colored areas, and these are the masks that it created during rendering. And we can now just quickly select it with an eyedropper and add, for example, like maybe the cubes. So let's add all of the cubes. We are using object, so it adds right now when we select the mats. After picking, we have all of the selected objects just masked out, and it's pretty anti-aliased, so smooth. To use this, we have to, for example, like mix color mix node, and if we plug the image and, for example, maybe let's overlay a color like pink, and or maybe just crazy green, and if we plug the matte into the factor and this into the viewer node, you can see that we just changed the color of the selected object. We can also add, for example, another cube, but we have to set this to pick first. So pick and add this one. So now if we plug this in, see how easy it is to composite. So imagine if you have a scene with many complex objects that you would like have to separately like mask out in Photoshop, or you had this opportunity to mask out by object or by material, setting the index object, and but there's the difference is that this is really like super easy to use, and you can do this in the compositing phase. It just automatically creates the mattes for you. So this is one of the coolest features, like for post-production, making the workflow really easy. So I'm super fan of it, and I recommend you to have some fun with it. Maybe you can not just change color, but maybe filter, like for example blur, if you blur the image and plug it here, and for example mix. Yep. And now if we blur, for example, a lot of blur, you can see it blurred only the cubes. So you can select and apply different post-production to different elements based on object, or maybe based on material. So if you have just like want to separate, for example, a wood material in your interior render or whatever, change the color of some objects, or adjust it a little bit, or overlay with something, just super useful, easy and fun to use. So thanks Blender developers.